Hari Om. All right. Well, so what do you guys think of this tweet? This is in waiting room. Let's see. Okay. Yes. I just saw this on a YouTube channel today, so I subscribed to this guy. That this downturn has not been good to anybody. But of course, these aren't really losses, because for it to be a loss, you have to actually sell. So these are just losses on paper. Okay. Let's see, a couple more people in the waiting room. We're gonna give it another minute or so. Can everybody see the screen, the Twitter post?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, so today we're going to talk about, wow, what's been going on. And as I mentioned in the email I sent, a big mea culpa from me about, you know, not catching this dip. But in spite of it all, I think that September, we're still going to be above 12K and going higher. So keep the faith. I think as long as you don't sell, like if Jeff Bezos doesn't sell his stock, then he won't lose 9 billion. Now, I know it's hard for some of you who are holding long positions and leverage positions. But if you're just hodling, this shouldn't be much of a roadblock for you. And you've got your Bitcoin and Ethereum and whatnot in an app within Celsius or in Voyager that's giving you 6, 7, 8% interest. And see, the thing about these apps is that you're earning interest in kind, not in dollars. So what that means is, let's say you have 1 Bitcoin and you're earning 6% Bitcoin yearly on that, whether Bitcoin's price is $1,000 or $100,000. So that means that if, let's say Bitcoin is worth $100 and you earn 6% on it, you earn $6 worth of Bitcoin for the year. If at some point it does go to $1,000, you have $6 worth of Bitcoin. But if it goes to 100,000, you have what, $6,000 worth of Bitcoin, or is it 60,000? 60,000. So you're earning in Bitcoin, which means that as Bitcoin's price goes up, the amount you earn in dollars will be higher. I don't know if that makes sense. Okay. All right. I think everyone has rolled on into the barn here already. All the nope, we got one more. Okay. I'm keeping an eye out here before we close the door. Metaphorically, we don't actually close the door. Okay. Before we get started, any thoughts, questions from you guys? Go on, don't be shy.
What's going on with this dip?
Yeah. Well, if I knew, I would have warned you, right? If I saw this, believe me, I would not have kept it to myself. But what's going on with the dip? They're externals, like, you know, the stock market sell-off, and so people sell their Bitcoin to cover their positions in the stock market. That's one. Miners who have to pay their miner fees. So a lot of miners, I read some of the news here and there. It turns out a lot of big Bitcoin miners, some, whales basically, moved, I think 4,000 or 5,000 Bitcoin to exchanges a couple of days ago, and basically they dumped their Bitcoin. Now, we don't know why, whether it's to pay their miners' fees, to drive the market down, but the combination of the stock market sell-off, the miners dumping their Bitcoin, and there's something happening in South Korea where an exchange got, closed down temporarily. Those are the externals. Now, astrologically speaking, I'm going to show you the chart for what I think is going to happen, and I'm still sticking with, as I said, that in September we're going to be back to 12,000 and above sooner than later. And I've cast actually a couple of charts for this. Basically, I won't take you through the chart. This is the chart that says, when will Bitcoin go to 12K and more? When will it return? That was the question. And the idea here is that I think it will be sooner than later. And so here's my prediction. It'll be before the end of September. Okay. In fact, I think it'll be well before the end of September. So like around the 22nd, 23rd is a good, that's a solid date. The 22nd, 23rd looks probable. Then also the 10th through the 12th looks strong. So basically a week from now. So because I'm getting two different dates, I'm just going to say, look, before the end of September, well before, like within 1 to 2 weeks, let's say 10 to 14 days, I'm thinking we're going to get back up to 12K and higher. So that's still my prognosis. So I'm still bullish for September despite this thing. In the other class, somebody asked, hey, are we going to fill the CME gap? And I remember looking at that chart and it was like, oh man, this looks probable. But how can it be probable if September is going to be bullish? So kind of swept it under the rug. I don't know if you guys remember. That was in the last class, actually. So I pushed it. I said probably October. But and we still haven't filled that gap, but we've come really close. So that's the answer for what's going on right now and what I expect, and perhaps with a little bit of hopium, hopium, that perfume that's the scent of hope and desperation, but also backed by some astrology. Some astrology charts. What do you guys think? You guys some of you here are professional analysts, and what's your take? You guys are very quiet today.
So Simon here, I find it a little difficult to do technical analysis of Bitcoin. Like its chart has got a lot of noise, but normally with S&P, like I was a bit bearish for the first week of September, as like I did ask you to cast a Prashna last week, if you remember.
Yes.
If S&P is gonna go down, I think it was down this morning. Now it started recovering. It's going up today. So yeah, my analysis was it's going to be a lot of volatility in the month of September. Then it's going to go up in October, and finally in the month of November, it's going to tank down.
It meaning the S&P?
Yes.
Or Bitcoin? Oh.
And whenever I say S&P, then I say like crypto is going to go down because the crypto market is not enough that it can sustain by itself. It's just hardly $350 billion.
Yeah.
And if whenever I see the financial markets are going down, it's also advice for everyone. Like till now we haven't seen a correlation where like cryptos are going up and the markets are going down. So if you're doing your analysis and you see market is going to go down, just cash out some of your money within, like, from cryptos as well.
Agreed.
We have a second to that opinion. Yeah, and in fact, a very prominent crypto investor just announced that he is out of the crypto market and out of the stock market. He's just holding dollars, which is a little bit strange, but maybe he's anticipating what we've been talking about, that real estate prices will also be going down. So you're going to need dollars to invest in potential opportunities that may come up. Look, different strategies. So you guys are pros. I am not. I'm a novice. I'm a baby when it comes to this financial stuff.
I'm in, if I may, I'm in the mortgage and real estate business, and the real estate prices we are expecting to dip next year.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's
right now you have.
That's where I'm at too. Yeah.
You have a lot of people who are in forbearance. They stopped paying their mortgage. Right now, there's over 100 million loans in the United States that people stopped paying on. Car loans, mortgage loans, credit card. Over 100 million, and they stopped paying. So this have not really had an impact on the market, and it's not obvious really yet. So once that comes in and it surfaces, then we're going to see the extent of the whole situation.
Yeah, 100%. I agree. We made a video way back in June, and I said 7 to 10 months from now, the housing market, and none of this had, I mean, we didn't know. Like, no, in June we were in the Corona thing, and because a personal client of mine had asked me the question, I believe, and I thought I'd share it, so I made a YouTube video and I said, guys, 7 to 10 months from now, there will be a housing crisis will begin. So, June, July, August, September, October, November, December, January, February, March, April. So, yeah, like the first quarter or even the first half of 2021, there will be probably, for those holding cash, investment opportunities. So this is maybe why some of these traders are cashing out early. Thank you for that analysis. So what are you doing then to position yourself, knowing this information?
Waiting till October. I'm planning to sell most of my cryptos early October and wait till November and rebuy everything again.
Rebuy the November dip, because even people who don't do, any astrology or charts, political pundits talk about how, well, after elections, especially if it's a Democratic, party gets in the White House and in the Senate, typically the markets don't react as well to the Democratic Party as they do to the Republican Party. But whoever it is, I think there's going to be turbulence. And yeah, so November, even from that point of view, looks bearish, and looks like the beginning. And then if you factor the astrology, that November 30th, USA begins its Saturn period, then you've got an extra little chunk. Okay, so you're planning to sell in October and rebuy in November. So
Correct.
You're reinvesting in what? Crypto market or stocks or real estate?
I personally believe that once the election comes and if Biden wins, the stock market will correct a lot. And like gentleman said, cryptos will automatically dip down. And I believe that the comeback, cryptos might have a stronger comeback than the stock market. I think it will take a much longer time for the stock market to rebound compared to Bitcoin and other cryptos. I think cryptos will just bounce much higher and much faster after November.
Yeah.
So cryptos are my main, at this point, I think, at least for a couple of months after that, cryptos are going to be my main investment.
Yeah. Okay. And what do you think about DeFi? Are any of you guys in the DeFi space, in Yearn Finance and Curve and all of these yield farming projects?
I'm on the sidelines on DeFi right now.
Yeah. Yeah. I think a lot of pros are. are saying that, because yes, you could see maybe some big gains if you get in early, but it's like the ICO craze 2 years ago, 3 years ago. Okay, thank you.
Oh, sorry, Simon. Just
Yes.
want to add one more part to it.
Mhm.
So if you guys have recently bought in a recent crash, and like if you have got stocks really cheap, I would not recommend selling it off, because then at the end of the year you'll be paying a lot of taxes on that. Instead, do one thing: just buy outdated options like puts. So like if let's say market gonna crash, those puts gonna go in the money, or the price is gonna go up, and then you cash them out. So it's gonna kind of a good hedge, and you won't be paying taxes. Like one of the ways, like just in case if any one of you is not planning to pay taxes on your investments, that's the
Mhm.
case.
So buying puts, you don't have to pay taxes on those?
You have to pay taxes on those parts, but if you'll be selling all of your investments, then you'll be paying a 30% tax on those
Right.
investments that you just bought in, like 3-4 months ago, right?
Right, if you just bought them, but you're right, because you have to pay capital gains,
Exactly.
short-term capital gains.
Yeah. My recommendation would be just buy long dated out of the money puts, and if market crashes, it's a free lottery. Seriously.
Mm.
And or you buy wicks, just buy in wicks.
Buy wicks meaning what? The wick.
Volatility index. Yeah,
Try to.
yeah, I'm in it.
Okay. Well, speaking of the
Can I
volatility
add
index.
something?
Yeah, yes, go ahead, please.
Just adding to that point, a good way to do that is to work out how much you've got invested in total, then take a 5% or 10% calculation of that sum, and then you buy, with that 10%, you buy the equivalent money on the VIX, the VIX, in calls, not puts, because the VIX will go up if there's a black swan or anything else. Or else you buy that same 5-10% on puts on the SPY, which is the ETF for the S&P 500, and that's where you do it. So it's puts on the SPY, and it's calls on the VIX. Exactly the same as the person who was talking before was saying it, but it's simpler than doing a hedge put on every single different stock you've got. You're just doing a hedge across globally for everything, and that way you will cover a lot of the drop. Not all of it, but a lot. Okay? I hope that makes sense.
I feel like a jock sitting in the AP chemistry class in school.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
No. I love it because like I'm there with you. So I'm following you, but just barely, right? I'm
Oh
right
God,
there with
I'm
you.
so sorry.
So it's brilliant. No, this is brilliant. So you're buying puts on the SPY, which is the S&P 500.
Yeah.
And
you buy calls
on the VIX.
on the VIX. You don't want to buy puts on the VIX because the VIX is going to go up. So you'll lose all that money.
Right. So
The assumption is about the volatility.
Got it.
The person before was talking about the assumption of if things go pear-shaped, like you were talking last week, that November is going to be the time when everything is going to go seriously pear-shaped. We'll probably get a black swan. Hopefully we'll get a black swan. Oh, interestingly, an institution has put $2 million down on a black swan happening between October and January or February of next year. But this is the really interesting thing, the way they've structured the options on the VIX. I want to tell you this because then you guys will have an idea of what they think is going to happen.
Please do.
The VIX, when it went to its, when we had the March thing, and bear in mind I'm really new, so I'm putting my hand up. I'm new to all of this. This is my first 10 months of being involved in all this stuff. So I come into a market where we not only have all-time highs and crazy things happen, we get a black swan as well. And this is for someone who's new to trading and investing. But the VIX, I think, hit 80 or something at that point, when everything went really to the worst. These guys have started with a VIX call at 75, really high. And they wanted to hedge how much they were having to pay for it by buying a spread on it. And they bought the spread with took it up to 175. Now, what that means is that when you do a spread like that, you're capped at, if the VIX goes to 175, or say the VIX goes to 220 or something, you can only get up to 175 in money because of what you've done. But they took off a part of what they did was they just took, I don't know, maybe several 100,000 off of their actual costs by doing that spread. But the key thing is the VIX went up to 80 in March. They're starting at 75, but they're seriously thinking that the VIX could go up to 175. I mean, what kind of black swan are they imagining? And that's not individuals like us, that's an institution. Because so they're aiming that they could allow that kind of headroom. So they only took a small amount off. I mean, for example, if people normally do a spread, they want to reduce their sum quite a lot of what they're going to pay. So they would choose something like, they go in at 75, they would choose something like, well, for a black swan event, 125 or 130, and they would get a whole lot more back and it wouldn't cost them 2 million. But these guys actually wanted to give themselves so much headroom for what can happen. They did that. So your thing about November, December, I mean, some people are already in tune with you thinking, my God, this could be huge. So that's why you want to do with the VIX, you want to do calls because it's about the VIX. When things go pear-shaped, or even when things get, for example, Apple or Tesla go bonkers in terms of the price rises, the volatility on those things shoots really high. So the VIX will go really high when everything goes downwards. So you want calls on the VIX and you want puts on the SPY, because the SPY goes in the direction of stocks. So your hedge with the stocks is to go puts. And puts is traditionally, it's insurance. People buy it like the person was talking about just now. It's like buying car insurance or home insurance. So, you don't want to sell, like the person was just saying, you don't want to sell your Apple stock because you're going to get screwed for capital gains tax, but you're really scared about the fact that actually it's going to get wiped to nothing possibly, or wiped down a lot by the fact that there could be a big drawdown or a black swan. So what do? You take out insurance, and the insurance that people take out is puts.
Got it.
And that will, that won't mitigate everything, but it will mitigate a lot, maybe 60, 70, 80%, depending on how you structure the put. That's the way you do it. But with the VIX, don't please do a put, because you're going to lose all your money. Do a call. That's it. So I hope I've been more clear, and I hope I haven't made it intimidating.
No, you
bear
haven't.
in mind, I'm new too. I'm 10 months in. That's all.
Well, you know a lot more about this than I do, because, like I said, I am straining to get at this. But here is something that our dear friend and student of this program, Mr. McEwen, sent, and he's done studies on the ebb and flow of the planets. Now, the ebb and flow of the moon we all know about, right? The moon gets full and gets dark. So that's the most obvious ebb and flow. And he says, this is in the email to me, and thank you so much for sharing this, Ron. This is amazing stuff that you're doing. That when the moon is, well, you could, look, I'll include this in our folder. I will include it in the other illustrations that he has. One of the others is already in our folder. But he says that when the moon is full, there's more volatility. When the moon is new, apparently here there's a little bit less. I don't know that the correlation is 100%, but he's found correlation between the VIX and the volatility and the moon's movement. But this isn't actually no, hold on a second. This isn't just the full and the new moon. This is the moon's movement north or south of the equator, so of the ecliptic. So its declination. So this upward movement is the moon's declination rising and the moon's declination falling. And then so I would guess that when there is a rise in declination and the moon is either full or new, that you get massive volatility. So I think that's how I'm reading this. Do you guys follow? So
Simon, it looks like is the graph you've got here. I'm sorry to call it a graph, but that's the layperson chart. The chart. It looks like there's different dimensions to the moon swing. Some of them are like the rise and the fall seems less at points than at others. Is there a correlation there where the rise and the fall, if it's bigger, the swing, if it's bigger, is there a correlation there compared to when it's a smaller rise and fall, or is it really just in terms of how you just described it now, where it's about a rise and a new moon or a full moon? Sorry.
yeah, no, so the declination, the moon only has a band that it can go above and below the equator. So there's a maximum, what is it, 19.5 degrees and 19.5 degrees. And then there's a band around which it can go north or south declination of the sun, which is only 5 degrees. So this measures not how far north of the ecliptic it is. I was wrong earlier. This measures its actual declination north or south of the equator. And so that's one measurement, is this wavy line. How far north or south of the equator. And it's what's called Ayana Bala, which is its strength as measured in Vedic astrology relative to its north or south declination. That's one thing. The other thing, as you can see, is the new and the full moon. So what I'm going to say, and I'm going out on a limb, but this is how I'm reading this chart, is that when a new or a full moon coincides with either a dip or a trough or the peak of the Ayana Bala, then you have big volatility. As we can see here, full moon and a peak, big volatility. Then, let's see, where's another instance of big volatility? We have some here. This is just a peak, but no full or dark moon. We don't have another example, but look at the peaks here. They do tend to have more volatility. The peaks of the Ayana Bala. Look at this massive wick here, or spike. And then here we have some pretty big spikes. This one, not so much, lesser spikes. And then this one, obviously big spikes. So those of you who are in AP chemistry and you're dealing with VIX, I will put these graphs in here, and maybe we can talk about them more. Here is another. This is the solar, lunar, helio, and geo aspects. So now this introduces the sun into it. So let's take a look here. This is, and I'm only bringing this up because you just brought up VIX. I'm not planning on showing this today because I wanted to study it a little more. So again, we have the peak and showing high volatility, the trough showing not so much. Here's another peak, and certainly this one here. So look, I will have to study these a little bit more, but yeah, but we'll talk about this next week as well. As I get, we've got a month or so or two before November, so potentially we can maybe even time some things with this. A question from Ayush. If Udayan could please add some details over the chat as well, over on your strategy. Absolutely, guys. The chat, the WhatsApp group, this is the place to put, you can record an audio message, you can record a video message, or, attach docs or whatever. And
sure, it would be my pleasure. What more would Ayush like to know? And then
let's work.
Green represents.
Ask in the chat. So
okay, I'll ask him in the chat. I'll do that.
You go ahead and ask, or you.
Day in the question, and then he'll respond. Yeah.
So, may I, Simon?
Yes, please.
Yeah, so I'm having a contrarian strategy and I'm just holding because of whatever analysis. Thanks to you, I got into the, the whole crypto market, and for the last 1 month, I've just been totally immersed. And it is initially in the bull run. So the way I'm looking at it is I'm just going to be holding for the next 1 year. So the way you treat your money of all the, and this is theoretical and I'm hoping to practice it. So you should have divide whatever money is into 3 buckets, and you should only have horizons because you can't pick up. Always we human tendencies is to buy, buy low and sell high. That doesn't happen. You can't predict the highs and the lows. So you can only have horizons. So if you divide your money into 3 buckets. So one bucket is for anything for 5. One bucket is for usual expenses. So you don't play around with that. Keep that money for that, Then the second money is for, for just, if you just want to trade, for 10% of your money, if you just want to trade, it's money which you don't need, you want to trade. And then your rest of the money, which is savings, just have at least a 3 to 5 year horizon. So if you divide your money into buckets and have a horizon, then it is much more easier. So for me, that's what I'm trying to do. And my other strategy, which I'm trying to do, is I'm trying to buy Pax Gold, because Ray Dalio and Warren Buffett have added a lot of gold positions. And what Warren Buffett has also done, interestingly, is he's bought a lot of trading companies. He's invested in trading companies and Japanese trading companies because he believes the Japanese yen is going to do well and the US dollar is not going to do well. And this, I was listening to Alex Mishinsky again today. So gold is definitely there. And one more thing, which didn't go according to the radar, is there is the move to a digital dollar, because the office of comptrollers, I mean, to oversee all the banks, the treasury, Steve Mnuchin, who's anti-Bitcoin, he hired the chief legal officer of Coinbase to overlook all the banks of what they're doing. So there is definitely going to be the push for digital dollar, and that's when crypto is definitely going to be really big. So what I would advise everybody is, just if you all don't need for 5 to 10 years, at least for 4 or 5 years, and your savings, just it's in the bull market, just hold on and don't bother it, don't increase your blood pressure seeing it go up and down. Yeah, I think I'll stop there.
Sandeepji, thank you. And by the way, I'm gonna say something maybe a little bit revealing, maybe a little bit embarrassing for you, Sandeepji, but I have inside information that you have a chart that is good for investing. That's all I'm going to say. And knock on wood. So when Sandeep is talking, I think he's giving very solid advice here, because is a number of commentators on one of my YouTube videos have said, well, doesn't it all come down to whether or not you have a good chart? Because Bitcoin could go up, it could go down, but if you have a good chart, you're going to time the dip, you're going to make the right moves. Who cares if Bitcoin goes up and you know it's going to go up? If you don't have a good chart, you're still going to lose money. Somehow you'll find a way. So what Sandeep is underlining here is something we discussed in the previous class, that in a bull market, which we're still in, you just buy and hold. And I've just added this thing lastly, which is when there's a dip, you don't lose money unless you sell. So this tweet that says Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk lost $9 billion in this retrace, well, it's not really accurate, because they've only lost it if they sell. So that's one point Sandeepji is making. Another point, which is absolutely, on the money. And another point is that it covers the short-term question of short-term capital gains, because if you hold for over a year, your tax base is going to be lower, right?
And
Go ahead.
another thing I want to add is because I looked at your video, it was really good. If you could show the thing of selling half if you made 100% gains, half of
Yeah.
you had one slide. I think that's the best slide ever, which you've created. Yeah. So this slide, I did it with Kusuma. I sold half of my, instead of removing full money, I made nearly 200% profits on Kusuma. So I sold it half of it, and I put it in Lend because that was my yogi point. And of course, Lend has gone down. And it's gone down. I don't know. My yogi point has, Jupiter and Ketu. I don't know what's going on there. But this is the best advice which you should talk about it. Yeah, I think this is
Okay.
great advice which you have. Yeah.
Yeah. So look, it's worth going over these slides again because there are people who are complete beginners. I'm a beginner in the financial system, but I'm learning. I'm a quick study, but I'm still a beginner. And if you haven't seen this slide, my point was that sometimes losing feels better than missing out. Because if you invest $1,000 and you lose it, it's terrible. I mean, you've lost all your money, but you get over it. But you invest 1,000, you make some money. Let's say it goes up 100%, you get your profits out, and then it goes up 100x. And now for the rest of your life, you're kicking yourself going, what if I had held on? I would have I'd have, $1 million. No, $100,000, sorry, 100,000. And I remember this one day, my mom still talks about this. When I was 8 years old, she was going out and she said, I'm going out to buy lotto tickets. I need 3 numbers. And it just came out of me like from my heart. I said 468. And she looked at me, she's like, that's ridiculous. Those are ridiculous numbers. And she kind of huffed and walked out. Well, she had she asked me for 4 numbers. She had 2, her birth date. I gave her 46810, something like that. Wouldn't you know it, her 2 numbers and my 4 numbers, one was the jackpot. It would have been millions of dollars. She didn't play it. She did not want to invest $1. She didn't want to lose that dollar. To this day, she kicks herself because of that. I'm like, Mom, it's karma. Relax. Don't worry about it. It's okay. Karma is karma. You cannot make money that is not allotted to you. Everything in this life, you have a certain tether. You have free will within that tether, but beyond that is anyhow. So the point is, as Sandeepji was saying, let's say your $1,000 goes up to 2,000. Take out your initial investment, but leave 1,000 in there and let it work for you. And if you lose that, well, you still have your initial investment. Okay, so hopefully this makes sense to everyone. Another strategy which not a lot of people talk about is asymmetrical bets, which is essentially what you're doing with things like DeFi and really small cap projects that basically are just getting listed. And one way to identify projects that have big potential is potential listings on Binance, Coinbase, and other exchanges. And Binance will tell you which coins it's about to list. It has a news little tab you can click. And if you see something like, especially a DeFi coin about to list on Binance, it may be worth putting a couple $100 in there. Whatever a small amount, if you're a small investor, $400 or $500. If you're a big investor, $1,000. When I belonged to Teeka Tiwari's Palm Beach Confidential, this was their recommendation. I paid a lot of money to be part of that. It ended up being partly useful, partly a scam, in my opinion. But they talked about, if you're a small investor, of $500 in 10 little projects, if 9 out of 10 of them fail, but one of them goes to the moon, you're still doing very well. And this is called asymmetrical investing.
Is he a scam? Is he a scam? Because I belong to something with him, and I was always wondering if he's really a scam.
He is authentic in the sense that he is a crypto insider. There's no doubt about that. He has information beforehand, and his recommendations move the market. So when I was a member for over 3 years, 4 years, he'd give a recommendation, and immediately that coin would double or triple. But the problem is, the moment the recommendation came out, the coin already doubled. So you couldn't get in on it. So it seems to me like people knew about the coin somehow before he publicly put it out there. So maybe he was telling his insiders, or I don't know. But he definitely.
Do you think he gets his information from places that you and I know about, like Crypto Briefing, or from watching Chico Crypto or someone else on the net?
Partly,
because many of us, and then he gives it to the rest of us.
Partly. His big thing was that he is flying around the world all the time, and actually shaking hands and meeting with, the people in the like going to the G10 or 12 summits and going to all the crypto summits and being. So, and I don't doubt that, because that part I don't doubt. Like, he is a crypto insider, and he does not get his information from the same places we do. It's usually from talking to the founders of the different crypto projects. The problem is, he knows so many of them. They're all bullish. A lot of his recommendations when I was a member never panned out. Nothing happened. If I had his track record, people would call me the worst astrologer on the planet. But because some of his projects did incredibly well, they 100x'd, he can still gloat and say, look, I told you, make asymmetrical bets. This is his strategy. And a lot of the stuff I'm telling you is not going to do well, but 1 or 2 of them will. And that's how he sells. So the other part of Teeka, and again, this is my opinion based on having been a member of 3 of his services: Palm Beach Confidential, the other one with the startups, I forget them now. Anyway.
Thousands of dollars, Simon. I mean, geez, that's such a huge amount of money he wants for each one. Do you not feel it's better that we come to be with you and we invest that money across 20, 25, 30 asymmetrical bets and listen to Chico Crypto and do exactly the same as what he says?
Well,
I mean, would that not be more sensible than spending $10,000 on 3 subscriptions with Teeka Tiwari?
Yeah.
What do you feel? What do you feel, honestly?
I feel honestly that, I pulled a chart, should I join this? And the chart had all malefics in there. And it said, look, if you join, it's going to be a hard go. And that's exactly how it was. It was tough. So in retrospect, I definitely would not have joined. Now in a bull market, there's probably upside. So if it were now, I probably would join. So I have inside information, because anything in a bull market, you have much more potential for not 1 out of 10, but maybe 3 or 4 out of 10 projects going high. And look, I'm not here to pump Teeka, but I'm here to tell you the truth as I see it, which is his service does have merit in a bull market. Unfortunately, I joined during the bear market, and so I just watched coins bleed. All of his recommendations fell 80, 90%. And so I wrote an email to them, and when my subscription was up, I said, hey, guys, you offered a free upgrade if the coins didn't do well. Oh. And they wrote back and said, well, at one point, if you caught the top on each of the coins, you would have doubled your money. So therefore, we cannot give you an extension on your membership. I'm like,
Oh,
guys,
that's so dishonorable. That's
it's-
so dishonorable.
Dishonorable.
it's utterly dishonorable.
Especially in the way he sells the service with those big guarantees. I will give you a year, 2 years more. He does that all the time. So that's so dishonorable then, Simon. I
So
mean, that's really bad of them.
just so you know, they will give you a year more, but the way they count it is if you count all the tops on all of his recommendations, like even if it's a wick, if it wicked up to $100, then came back to 20, they're going to count $100. And they add all of those up and say, see, you doubled your money or you 10x'd your money. Well, no, the reality is I've been holding, believe me, guys, I bought every coin he recommended. I held it unless he gave a note and he said, hey, we're liquidating such and such coin. And then I sold it. And I was down 88% on my investment after the 2 years, 88%. So I was just unlucky, I guess. But I still, during this bull period, I think there is a benefit. So I'm not going to, okay, we're going off on a bit of a tangent. I'm sorry for those of you who don't know who we're talking about. The name is Teeka Tiwari. And they have an expensive service, membership service that costs $300 to $2,500, and to get recommendations. Now, all of that aside, I also don't like their marketing style, which is very cheeseball. It's very used car salesman style. It's, if you can imagine a used car salesperson with a 70s suit coming up to you, you know, chewing bubble gum, trying to get you to buy a used car. That's kind of how it feels.
I'm glad you asked that, Teeka. Let me fill you in.
Yeah,
that were the videos.
They have these cheeseball
fake interviews. Yeah.
Fake interviews, exactly. It's like, so Teeka, things have been very interesting. What do you think about the market? And they'd be like, well, Fernando, thank you for asking.
And we don't know where we're going. We're on a plane to Disneyland or Wonderland, but where are we going to end up? Oh my God.
So anyways, so look, the long and short of it is this. If you've got $2,500 and you want inside info on some coins that could go high during this crypto market, it might be a good investment. I won't lie to you. But does it come with a little bit of a sparkle and glitter that's not real? Yes, absolutely.
His cannabis asymmetric bets have also died as well. Every single, I think 5 recommendations for cannabis asymmetrics, they've all gone way south.
I subscribe to that one as well. So I'm telling you guys, I'm doing all the heavy lifting for you so you don't have to. There were some gems. He did recommend Numeraire, NMR, which is a coin that has done really well. I think overall, I've probably broke even with him, if I'm being fair. But it took years, and it took 2-3 years of just painfully watching my savings dwindle for that to happen. But to be fair, he has had some good recommendations, a few, yeah.
You paid him so much money.
Yes, I did.
Yeah. So basically, it's all about your timing. So his initial recommendations are the Neo, Ether. That was in 2017, right? So
yeah, and those were huge. Those were huge. Yeah. But after that, I can list you 30 different coins he recommended that are basically zero right now. Gifto, Funfair. I mean, it goes on. It goes on. So, but yeah, early on and right now in the bull market, it'll probably be good.
Yeah.
All right.
So far, his biggest one is the Neo. So you got in the cents.
Yeah. How I don't see. That was before I joined. That was.
That was in 2017.
You joined, isn't it? And he recommended Chainlink.
He did recommend Link, yes, and Link was at about, I think,
50 cents when he recommended.
Was it? Was it that low?
50 cents. Yeah, that low.
Yeah. Well, that was a great one. Yeah, and I did buy it based on his recommendation, but I bought it at $2. Yes.
Have you seen the picture of the Wall Street market cycle?
No.
Can you Google that for a second?
Wall Street market cycle picture.
Sorry, I wasn't trying to rub in the paint, Simon. I'm just really grateful to hear your opinion because you saved me a ton.
Oh,
That's all I
brother,
can say.
I'm with you 100%. No worries. That's why we're here, and yeah, that's why we're here.
So
Sean, is this what we're talking about?
yeah, so basically from what I've been learning.
Hey there. So in this
Oops,
video,
sorry. Yes, go ahead, Sean. Let's go back to the page. Yes.
Yeah, so basically from what I've been learning and what it sounds like, you basically bought like probably around the euphoria or complacency stage of where the market was around, you said 2018?
Yep.
Yeah, so it sounds like you basically just rode that whole wave down, which is really when people tend to suffer and they kind of give up. And right now, from what I'm understanding, we're right at the disbelief part. So it's like coming down and retesting what they would call like a previous level of resistance, right? Where you can see where it says anger, those points that they couldn't pass before.
Yeah.
So now the price has passed that level and now it's basically retesting it. So now this is like that point where it's going to go start to repeat the cycle where it says you go from disbelief to hope. And what they're saying is like these runs typically last like about 17 months or so, which would correlate with like the end of 2021 into 2022. So I think it makes a lot of sense. Like if you're buying now while the prices are still, you know, in like this belief phase, like you can hold that. That's what I'm looking to do, is to hold that so that you're good with the taxes, and also you should be riding the whole way up without having to worry about the ups and downs so much.
I agree. I agree. And so you can sleep at night. Guys, I was up till 4 a.m. last night looking at potentials for, you know, dips to the CME gap and whatnot. And short term, that's kind of exciting. It's fun to do that, but that's not a long-term strategy, and that's a lifestyle that I want to have. So,
and the other issue too with the space I've learned is that there's a lot of people on YouTube, especially back then, that were getting paid by these companies that were making coins to promote them. So the price would go up, and then they would collect and then just sell on everyone, and then the coins would just be dead. So like if this industry not really being regulated or controlled like that, you know, there's less of it now, but there's still a lot of that happening now in DeFi. So like people saying kind of to stay out of that is probably the safer way.
Shills, yeah, there are shills for projects, and the more reputable ones on YouTube will say, hey, this company is a sponsor, and you know, but I love their coins, and so I'm going to talk about them. The less reputable ones will not even say that. They won't tell you they're being sponsored or getting money, and they'll just pump. But here's the thing. Hold on. Here's what it comes down to. In 2018, I did not use astrology for this. I was just seeing clients. Any money I made from a client, I put it into portfolio, paid some bills, but I never asked the chart, hey, should I invest in this? Hey, is this a good idea? And guys, I made so many mistakes because of that, because I trusted this guy. You know, I paid thousands of dollars. I trust not just him, others as well. And I said, these guys are experts. They know what they're talking about. I don't need the chart. This is how I think. I'm when it comes to my own life, I don't use astrology that much, or it didn't used to be. I do now, because I've learned that even the experts, they're bullshit. If the timing is wrong in the chart, the astrology chart shows, hey, we're about to hit, Bitcoin's about to go down. Like, you know, in February, when I looked at that chart and I said, look, I don't care what people think, it's going up, it looks strong, but I'm telling you, there's going to be a huge dip. So I made a video in January about that. So I started trusting the astrology. And this class, what we're doing here is an extension, is the result of that. So I'm trying to share with you that, you know, even in my experience, I've fell on my face when I just trusted the so-called experts. So you guys make your own decisions. I'm also not an expert. As you can see, I've been wrong as well, but my job is to give you the astrological experience. So let's see. Firoze says something very interesting here. Just wanted to share, talking about shaking hands with the bigs, there are many wealthy people selling their real estate investments, especially commercial holdings. Yeah, duh. Because who can pay the rent, right? Because if Biden gets in, and Biden has already apparently shared his tax laws, he will be heavily taxing wealth and real estate holdings. Yeah, well, that's, yeah, we've talked about that. It's, I mean, real estate does not look good first quarter, first half of next year, unless you want to invest in.
Someone's offered something I need to ask to say.
Yes, go ahead, please.
Oh, hi. Someone in the chat, I can't remember their name, has said that they have the Stansberry Research Crypto Capital subscription. That's Eric Wade and Fred Marion, and they've offered to share. So Simon, would you ask them on behalf of all of us, including me, I hope it will be on behalf of all of us, to please share all the information that Fred Marion and Eric Wade offer, because that's an incredibly expensive subscription, and you ought to know whether it's really for real or not. I mean, Eric Wade comes across a bit like Teeka, but
yeah,
he's a bit more for real.
They're
But if that person would share this subscription and all that Eric Wade and Fred Marion share with us, that would be brilliant. And then, you know, we can do it in the context of the astrology, and that would help us all.
Yeah.
So they made an offer. If you would say yes to them, that would be great.
The way I did it, so when you join these groups, they ask you, please, this is a private group, don't share any of this information, right? They go out of their way to kind of scare you into that, or you lose your membership. So when I did classes back in 2018, I did cryptocurrency boot camp. It's not that I was scared about my membership, but I wanted to honor my agreement with them. So I never shared publicly their actual documents and stuff, but I shared the information. Like I said, well, look, these are the coins that I'm invested in, and I belong to this group, and hint, hint, right? These are their recommendations. So whoever said that they're willing to share their Stansberry, absolutely, please share with the group to the degree that you feel comfortable. And looking back on it now with Palm Beach Confidential, I should have just given all their information to everybody because there was no honor there. So you know, but yes, please do share. And Stansberry they're all related. These guys all know each other. Teeka and the guys at Stansberry constantly cross-promoted. So I would get emails from their research all the time to buy their expensive memberships. But I figured I've got enough. So yeah, absolutely.
Thank you for that. Thank you.
Thank you, Kosin. Beautiful. He will email me the portfolio, and I will send it out to all of you guys who are here in this class. So that's why we're here, guys. We're a community, and we got to help each other. And because the whales are already helping each other, right? The people who own a lot of this stuff, they're already rubbing shoulders and going, hey, when are we going to short the market? Tuesday? Okay, let's do it. So we have to kind of unite as well, using astrology, using everything else we know. So Sean, thank you for bringing up this image. This is, if you're not familiar with this image, this is, like it or not, it plays out. I mean, and it plays out over and over. And right now we are in this disbelief stage. I don't know if you guys can see it. I can't. Disbelief. You think, oh, this rally is not going to last. This is where we're at, basically. Right, Sean? Is this what you're getting at?
Yeah, and that, you know, you started in 2018, and so it's 2020. That's been 2 years of that section where it goes from anger to depression, and from a technical analysis point where you see it starts to turn blue and then it comes down. If it bounces up, that's what they call like a successful retest of that level, acting as a support level, meaning that there's so many buyers at that point that price won't collapse from there. It'll just be pushed forward because there's enough buyers in the market to then begin that rally, because it takes those years to build, you know, that amount of buyer pressure for price to rise parabolically like it's about to do. And so people have been holding for the past 2 or 3 years. They don't really believe, after, you know, suffering the pain of not making, you know, just watching their accounts bleed 80-90% down, that it's going to go up anymore, just because of the length of that time.
Yeah.
Then price starts to go up like it will.
And so this is to Sandeep's point as well. This is the time to buy and hold. This is why I made that first slide. During a bull market, just buy and hold. Where was that? Right there. And do do your best to dollar cost average. What is dollar cost average? I know a lot of you guys know this. It's every fill in the blank, week, month, 2 weeks, whichever, by a fixed amount. And you can set it up in your Voyager app, Celsius app, in Coinbase. You can set up dollar cost averaging, weekly buys. So let's say $250 every week. On every Tuesday, you're going to buy Bitcoin, no matter what the price is. And that ensures that you will have it almost eliminates the possibility that you're going to buy the top. It probably eliminates the you're going to buy the dip as well, but it gives you the best price average for that security. And you don't have to break the bank with you don't have to invest $5,000 today, just $250 every week. Boom, boom, boom. So Sean, in this picture, do you think we're here at the end, or do you think we're on the left side here?
I think we are heading between disbelief and hope, because of what I've been seeing on some of the charts, where a lot of the technical analysis looks at where price gets kind of stuck, and then to see what the price will then do once it's moved past that point. And so where price was stuck for Bitcoin was at 10,500. It wasn't able to go above that for years. And so now that it's finally been able to do that, now it's coming down, and people are going to pay very close attention to levels like 10.5 or 97 and 9,000, to see what the price would do there. But as long as that can hold and it doesn't break much lower than that, eventually over time we'll start to begin that hope phase, and then ride the bull market into towards the end of 2021.
Yeehaw! Hang on, partner. Yeah. So look, it's over 10.5 now, which is good. When we started this class, it was 10.4 or 10.3 even. So even as we're talking, it's trying to break that 10.5 line that you talked about. It's a very powerful resistance right now.
Can I ask Sean a question?
Yes, yes.
Sean, I read something today that came on my emails about the CME Group gap. CME Group, who do the Bitcoin futures. Well, they do part of it. And they're the people who've gone on about the gap thing. But in the email, it said that Bitcoin is normally traded by 2 or 3 specialist digital futures markets. And the reason why there's the gap with the CME is because they trade regular hours, but Bitcoin is traded 24/7 by these other people. And that's why there was the gap on the CME. So do you think that it's legitimate in that context to be so focused on a gap, like it is with a stock when there's a gap up or a gap down? Because the CME is only a still really small part of trading Bitcoin, whereas the other 3 are the main players, and it's 24/7. So do you feel, Sean, there's any credibility to really get concerned about the gap, given that information I got today?
I'm not an expert, but from what I understand from the courses I've taken is that the people that places like Binance or exchanges or the futures gaps that are being bought, they're basically, they can do things where they can sort of shape where price goes. So there might be instances where price will create these wicks, these really quick movements where those gaps get filled. because I believe there was a gap towards the top of like 97. I don't remember exactly where, but close to 10,000 that was filled just like that. So it seems that when they do get filled, it's really quickly. So if you are holding for a long term, it's not really something to be concerned about. But if you're someone who has like futures, right, then those wicks can, you know, get you out of your position really quickly and make those exchanges money. So it's really, if you're in futures, I think that's more of something to be concerned about.
Yeah, because for those of you who don't know what Sean is saying, in futures you have something called a liquidation price, which is a certain price at which if the stock reaches it, you lose everything. You lose your investment, your what you've leveraged. And so nobody wants to get liquidated. But what happens is, even if something is trading at 90, let's say 9,500, but it wicks down to 8,000 just for a second and then comes back up, if your liquidation price is say 8,500, you're gone, even though it was just a second, right? And most of the time it was up here at 9,000, your money's gone. And that's, like you said, that's how exchanges make money.
Can I ask?
Yes.
This is Udayan. Udayan, basically, I saw your chat saying to buy the VIX, and I'm trying to buy the VIX. Because, you know, I know the pricing of VIX is based on the European model and the American model. But I'm just trying to buy VIX, and it's not able to buy it.
The ticker symbol
VX.
I don't know anything about not wanting to buy on the European model, because that's
right.
You have to hold the expiration date. You can't get rid of. You can't, you know. So it's like you've got to watch the whole of the football match before you can call a winning, which is the great advantage of American options. If you can win and the match can still have 2 hours to go, but you can say, hey, I've won and up. And so the European options thing is pretty poor as a choice. But I think you'll find the ticker is VXX, but you have to be really careful about these kind of things, like because you've got to get your timing absolutely right. So you could get into the VIX now, and it could go down. So you're going to lose your money. Your timing has to be pretty good. So another example would be if you're looking to hedge against short trade, like the market going down. There's something called triple ETFs, which are like inverse of the NASDAQ, the Dow, the S&P, and they're like the inverse. So when it goes up, when it goes down, they go up in value. So they're really worth doing as another hedge. And then there's the triple inverse, which means you don't even have to bother with an option. They give you just as much. They go up 3 times as these indexes go down per point. But the thing is, with all of these things, you've got to get the timing really right. So maybe you know, we have an advantage, disadvantage. I'm not sure which way to put it, but with the astrology, to try and get that timing all right, because that's what you have to do. To enter those kind of trades, you have to get your timing right to make it work. Whereas with a put option, you've got 3, 4, 5 months you can take a put out to, and you can do things that way on the SPY or on the individual stock. But with the other things, you've got to get the timing pretty good to make it really work. And if you do, wow.
And Ujjwal is saying buy. So Ujjwal is saying buy UVXY. So what's the difference between UVXY and VXX?
No. VX, the ticker for the VIX, the ticker, you know, like, how can I put it? Each stock is a symbol, like Apple isn't, if you type in Apple, you won't get it. If you type in, is it AAPL? I'm not sure. Then you get Apple. But it's the same. The VIX is VXX, I think.
Not VIX.
No, that's what we call it, VXX, but VIX. But if you type in VXX, then the ticker will show it and you should get the trade. But that's the kind of way it goes. But it's really your call. Which, I mean, you've got all these choices. That's what I'm saying, and they can offer you all things. But they've got tremendous benefits. But like everything, there's a catch to it, and you've got to get the catch right. If you want upscale return, then those. For example, when I started to learn it, with what happened in March, I discovered some of these kind of ETF, like the VIX and others, and I stuck them all in a thing which I call in a red market. And I look at them whenever there's trouble, and I see which ones have gone into green and making lots of money, and what's going down the other way. So I've got some idea in the future of what to go with. But what I've noticed is that you have to get the timing so kind of like to the 4 days, 5 days before, 3 days before. And if you don't, then you notice that you're losing money. And that's why put options are a safer bet, but they give you a more conservative return. That's all. But they are safer. But we've got Simon here to help us with the timing. So if you want to do these, what Simon calls asymmetric bets, then the best person to ask with your lucky times and everything else for timing is say, hey Simon, you tell us about asymmetric bets. I've got one for you. I want to do the triple inverse ETFs on the indices of the US stock market for whatever time. When will it be the time to get in November or October, whatever, and see what Simon says to you? That would be the answer.
By the way,
does that help?
Yeah, Umeshji.
Yes, thank you.
And this is not something that we're going to hash out all in one class today. That's why I think you guys should save some of these for the group. But this is good. I mean, look, I'm glad we're having these conversations. I know some of you are bored with this because it's not pertinent to what you're holding or what your strategy is. But it's good to know what other strategies are out there, even if you're never going to work with the stuff that they're talking about with VIX and options. Now, what Udayan was just saying, Umesh and everyone else, is something that exists in cryptocurrencies as well. And if you go to the gainers and losers here on CoinMarketCap, you will see that a lot of them are 3x shorts. For example, here's a 3x short on TRX, which is up 52%. And the 3x longs obviously are going to be some of the big losers. Here's a 3x long on TRX is minus 51%. 3x long on Tomo is down 33%. So these instruments are basically saying, I'm going to like 3x long Bitcoin. I'm going to long Bitcoin, but I'm with 3 times leverage. So if I win, if I'm right that it's going to go up, I'll get 3 times the money. But if I'm wrong, I lose 3 times the money, or I lose it 3 times as fast. So Udayan, this stuff, it does exist in the crypto sphere as well. So you can 3x long, you can play futures and all kinds of stuff.
Wow, that's great to know.
It has
We should be
also
asking you for timing on those things too. Great. That's great for us then. That's great for everyone who's listening, who is not bored who is bored completely by what we're talking about, but is really here for the crypto. That's fantastic. So we've discovered something new there for all of us. Thank you. Thank you very much.
So do they have liquidation price also?
I don't know if the 3x have liquidation. On Binance, so Binance has a 3x, they call it a, here, let's go to Binance. Let me go to Binance here, 1 second. And I'll show you what it looks like on Binance. If you go to derivatives and you go to leverage tokens, it says increase leverage without risk of liquidation. So you get 2 to 3 times leverage. It says up to 3x leverage. There's no liquidation, but you're paying maintenance fees on it, right? And so these are the tokens you can invest in Binance, down or up. So this is basically 3x down or 3x up.
Well,
Yeah,
this is better than normal then, because you get liquidated there.
What's that? But
I mean, there's too much risk of liquidation on normal futures, right? So
yeah,
at least if you hold this one, you're not getting liquidated, and if you're sure that it's going to go up in a long run,
yeah.
just hold it there. Whatever fees you pay, that's there. But if it makes up in the long run, then I think it's a better bet than just normal futures.
Probably, yeah. And yeah, I wish I would have known that, but then I discovered it later. So Yes, you don't have as much leverage. Yes, you are still paying fees like you pay with any futures contract, but it's less risk. So yeah, so these are available on Binance. I think other exchanges may have something similar as well. Looks like Bitcoin is almost going to hit 10.6. It's going up to 10.580. So woohoo! Let's keep it going.
Hey, Simon, I have a quick question. I'm new to this group and I missed initial few minutes of this whole conversation. I joined a little bit late. But the question I had was, when do you see, as per your astrological predictions and movement of planets, when do you see a 30% or nearly 20-30% decline in next 4 to 5 months, say, December end or January end? Is it going to dip, especially Bitcoin?
Well, we just had a 20% dip.
Right, we did. I did see that. Yeah. Last few days.
So I didn't see this coming. I hate to say it, but so the next one that we've all been talking about is in November that we think is due, partly because of what Firoze mentioned about new administration, taxes, and so forth, and markets not liking new administrations, and for other reasons as well, astrologically speaking. The big picture, though, is still that we looked at this in one of our first classes, 2022, 2023, we believe is going to be the peak when Pluto-Jupiter conjunct in the Bitcoin chart. And that's all these crazy predictions that people are making about the Bitcoin price. It's going to hit 100K. It's going to hit 400K. I think it's 2022, 2023. That's
okay.
So we're still a couple of years away from the full all-time high. And again, back to Sandeep, Mr. Shastri's comment, which was, and remember, he has a good chart, so you should listen. Is that if you hold and plan on holding for 2-3 years, it doesn't even have to be 5 years. I think Bitcoin will hit its peak in about 2.5 to 3 years. Then you're going to be fine. You don't have to pay attention to any of this stuff. Meaning, when the dip comes, just reinforce, get bigger position. If you can afford to.
No.
Right.
Some people can't.
You to be in and out of the market, and that's fine. But the bigger strategy is we are in a long, I think, bull run cycle. Again, and as Sean pointed out, with this beautiful picture here, we're right here at the hope stage. So there's a long way to go. And hope, disbelief, we're somewhere in here, right? Maybe it's right here where we just now took a dip. You see where my arrow is? Right here?
Yeah.
So if this fractal plays out, and a fractal is like a model of what could play out, then it's mostly upside from here. A few dips, there's another dip. See, this might be November, who knows? Then up, and then another dip, and then something like that.
Are there any specific dates for November, Simon, like aligned with Jupiter getting?
Yeah, we were looking at between the 11th and the 22nd, around there, like mid to late November.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
So, yeah, I mean, in December 10th, I think we looked at in our last class, look, there's going to be dips. And if there aren't, then it's a fake market. It's not real. So it's kind of good that we're having these corrections.
So Simon, I just wanted to add I think it seems like U.S. equities is in the denial stage right now, and crypto, the denial in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
And crypto is the disbelief in the left. So once the denial becomes panic, then the disbelief, people move from equities to crypto, and then the hope and optimism of the digital dollar, and if what people are saying, the Bitcoin going to 100,000, and if whatever predictions you're saying in the way that it is, then this will crypto, everybody will move to crypto, and then the panic and equities will go down, and then there'll be looking at this is what I'm thinking.
I agree.
Yeah, and another thing, Simon, is I've been following astrology. Is your permission before doing that? Is that okay?
Hello, hello.
Simon, did I lose you?
Hello.
I'm sorry, I lost you guys.
Yeah.
I can hear you.
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Okay. I'm sorry about that, guys. I had a wick, a wick, and it liquidated my position in the class. But I think we're still recording. So sorry, go ahead and finish your thought. My internet just dipped in and out.
Yeah. So there was. I just wanted to seek your permission. Before I saw there's this astrologer who I've been following for the last 5-7 years, and he predicted this crash in September, that this would happen last month, that from August 17th to October 7th, it is definitely going to be. There is going to be a dip in U.S. equities, 20 to 30%. And so there is a YouTube video. So I just wanted to seek your permission if I could share that on
Of
the
course.
YouTube. Yeah.
Any information that helps, guys, please. This is not anybody. In my practice as an astrologer, I've referred people to other astrologers probably as much as anyone else. Like when someone had a question about something I couldn't answer, I always said, hey, go see this astrologer. They're an expert at this. So yeah, it's all about the information. Please share. Please share.
Yeah. I just shared it. I just thought before asking,
Thank
I just,
you.
yeah.
Appreciate it. Deeply appreciate it. But this is all for the benefit of the group. So I will check it out as well.
I put it in the chat already.
Okay, awesome. All right, now there is a chart that I wanted to share with you that I shared in the video of the Ayana Bala of Mercury and how it relates to Bitcoin. So here is, now this is again shared by Ron, who introduced me to the VIX and the moon cycles, which does look very promising actually. So I'll go back to that before the end of class today. But in this chart, you can see that Mercury is the dark green line. Here, let me zoom in here. So Mercury is this dark green or teal or light blue line, however you want to see it. And then Bitcoin is the dark blue. And you can see that there's kind of an uncanny correlation between these cycles. The green line and the blue line, and the dips and the highs. So where we are now is right at the end of August, it shows an uptick, an upsurge, right? But then the beginning of a dip. Now it's not exactly correlated because it shows the top around August 9th, I guess, but it's still pretty darn uncanny. So if this model follows, then this is kind of bearish until right around here, which would be October, if we're following the Ayana Bala model. And then there should be an uptick here, and then a further dip mid to late November. So this also is kind of signaling that, well, no, actually, late November through December, a dip, right? And then beginning of next year, things starting. Let me zoom out here so you could see kind of the big picture. Now, I didn't pay much attention to this, but it's got my attention now. And the reason I didn't pay 100% attention to it is that there's no one technique that completely shows you everything. There's no one technique that is the end-all, be-all, that, okay, that's it. Because if there were, then we would have solved this whole stock market thing a long time ago. But I think this is a useful tool. So what do you guys think?
It
But
does show a good pattern though on this chart, Simon. It does.
yeah,
Shows pattern with Mercury. Is there a place we can have access to this chart? Like,
I will. It's in our Dropbox folder for
okay.
the quote unquote lifetime people. But what I'm going to do is I'll include this with Ron's permission. I believe he's given me permission to share this. To include it in an email for those of you who aren't lifetime members. I'll make an exception and share this picture in.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
Yeah,
for you.
this looks good. I'm a novice astrologer myself. I have deep interest in astrology and planets, and this does make sense, definitely.
Yeah.
Thank you. Is this for all financial instruments or just for crypto?
Well, Ron has tested this. This is specifically for BTC.
Oh, okay. Thank
Bitcoin's
you.
movements. Yeah. So I'll include this. I'll include, for those of you who are interested in the VIX, the volatility, the moon charts that we looked at earlier. And I'll just say one thing about those moon charts as well, which is that I think we can develop a kind of a system based on this, which to me looks like when a moon is full, and I said it earlier, I'm just going to say it again. When the moon is full and it's either the top or the bottom of the Ayana Bala cycle, that would be a time when you see high volatility. Also possibly when the moon is new. And let me actually pull the other picture up here. Chandra, this one right here. Yeah. So we'll have to keep track of this. And I will ask, and I don't know if, he's given me the info as a spreadsheet, but I don't know how to turn the spreadsheet into a graph. So maybe some of you who are better designers, because this is a lot of information. This is volatility information is one layer. The moon's declination is another layer. Then the full or new moon is a third layer. And then the signs, the movement through the signs. I don't know that has as much influence. Is another fourth layer here. So there are 4 layers of information on this. But yeah, that's my take on this, is when you see the top or a bottom of a cycle and a new or a full moon, volatility. Because the moon, remember, influences how people think, and it influences how we feel, which is a lot more important. Those of you who are in sales, you know that it's more important to make a person feel something than to think about something. Because they're more likely to buy if they're feeling either fear of missing out, or lust, or whatever it is, right? Because emotion sells. Okay, so yeah, so let's take a look then at some of your questions. Any other thoughts, comments before we move forward?
So this iron well, is it place specific? So is this for a particular place, or is it kind of very similar to across places?
No, it's just based on the moon's position north or south of the equator, the celestial equator. So it's not relative to any. Well, let me think about that. Oh gosh, see, what if you're in Australia? No, I mean, I don't think so. I think it's a general thing. But if someone correct me, someone who is a master of Shadbala and the calculation techniques of Jyotisha, which I'm woefully lacking in, maybe you can correct me. But I don't believe so. Not this technique. Other questions? So is waxing moon better than a waning moon? No. So here we're measuring volatility. So during a waxing moon, people may get, oh, you mean, well, is waxing moon better than a waning moon for what? If you're making ghee dates, for example, in Ayurveda school, they taught us, then you put the ghee and the dates together in a jar and you seal it on on the new moon, because then, and you leave it there for 2 weeks. And so as the moon grows more and more Shaktified, your dates get nice and juicy. And so after the 2 weeks, you have one date a day, and that's one of the cures for low energy, low sperm count, low vitality in both men and women from Ayurveda. That uses the moon's waxing phase to make your dates more juicy. In terms of volatility, a full or a new moon is more volatile. A new moon because of FUD, fear, uncertainty, and doubt, and a full moon because of FOMO. FOMO, full moon, get it? Fear of missing out. But that by itself is not consistent. So what Ron has done is he's added Ayana Bala to it, which is the declination of the moon. And I think if you combine those, you get, it's like a telescope. It's not one lens that lets you see the star. It's one lens refracting the image down to another lens, which then, concentrates it to your eye. So using these two lenses, we zoom in on the volatility much better than just using full or new moon. Make sense? So that's my take on this, but I think we need more data, right? Definitely need more than just 2-3 months of cycles. We need years of cycles. So if anyone here is up to the task, I mean, I would donate. I would contribute some crypto or dollars to someone who is willing to recreate this more long term. And maybe I'll reach out to Ron and see if he's willing to do it. But this will be a very useful tool, both for the moon cycle, for volatility, and the Mercury BTC thing. Like, I'd like to go back farther in history than just what this graph is showing us, Yeah. So if Ron, if you're willing to show us more, I'd be happy to contribute to your Animals Fund and the good work that you're doing. And I think others here would as well. Other thoughts, questions? Good, some really good questions here. I mean, good stuff. And don't be shy, just speak up.
Hey, Simon.
Yep.
I have been looking at the correlation with the new moon and the full moon, and I find that it doesn't always hit, but when it hits, it really hits. If you can pull up just the regular price chart for Bitcoin, you'll notice that May 22nd was a new moon and June 5th was a full moon, and the price went from about 6,000 to about 9,000, and then started going down again after the full moon. And it happened again with the new moon on August 18th and the full moon being September 1st. Almost perfectly the bottom and the top on the new moon and full moon.
Really? So, Ron, this is you? I can't tell who's speaking.
No, this is Benjamin.
Oh, Benjamin. Okay, sorry. I can't see who's talking. So going back to May, so tell me the date again, May.
Yeah, the first one was May 22nd was the new moon, and June 5th was the full moon.
Yeah, let's see, got to zoom in here. Maybe this will be easier. Okay. Sorry, let me zoom out again here. Okay, I take your word for it. So yes, so the new and full moon show volatility. So you've seen it actually to have an effect on BTC price, yeah?
Yeah, and I don't know if you use TradingView for the charts.
Yeah, let's go.
But I actually put like the moon, on my chart, and I put it back about until the end of last year, and there is definitely some correlation. Obviously, it's not always, but there are times where it hits, and it basically shows you, the perfect entry and perfect exit for that time period.
Okay. So if I go to BTC chart here, versus the US dollar. And how do you overlay the moon on it? You just get that information from the chart, or can you overlay
Yeah,
it
no,
somehow?
they have like icons that you can put on your chart, and there's one that's just like a circle, and there's one that's sort of like a half moon. So I just have
Oh,
on the
okay.
chart. I'm not on my computer right now, so I can't share screen or post the image. Let
Sure,
me see if
sure.
I can.
No worries, no worries. But I get what you're saying. You can actually draw it. Yeah, cool.
And I
Okay.
think maybe the declination is part of what determines when it actually corresponds and when it doesn't. So I'll have to look into that more.
Yeah,
That's new.
I think it's another lens. It's another lens that's going to allow us to see things even more deeply. So, a question from Sean is: did you track the sign the moon was in as well? New moon, the full or the new moon. The sign matter to you? I would think the sign would. I would think it's like a governor. Like if the moon is exalted and full, then it would be a bigger move up than just a move up. Or if it's debilitated and new, it would, the volume of the move would be affected, I would think. But who knows?
Yeah, I'm not an expert on all of it, so it's hard for me. I try to look at the simple part, but I know there's more to it.
So, yeah, so the moon is indicating people's emotions and likelihood of making irrational decisions, like buying, like I just saw something on CNBC, I'm going to go buy it. People are more likely to do that when the moon is full, right? Or when it's new, because they're afraid, oh my God, if I don't get this now, everyone's going to laugh at me. I'm going to miss out on the opportunity of a lifetime. Don't wait, act now, right? That's a new moon strategy. A full moon strategy is, well, it's also don't wait, act now, but because you want to be part of the, you want to go up, not because you're afraid of losing.
You want to be part of the collective, maybe.
Yeah, the moon is the collective, right? It's you want to be part of the cool kids group.
So can I add something here, Simon?
Sure.
So I've always seen that when I keep track of where the moon is when I buy something, I've almost always lost money when the moon in transit is with the nodes or with Saturn, especially with the degree. If it's exactly conjunct Saturn degree or opposing Saturn degree, I've always lost money, and with the nodes.
Those are unlucky times. I've noticed that in researching the Lucky Times app, which it's a big project. But when the moon is within a degree of Ketu, exactly on Ketu, or within a degree of Saturn, or opposite Saturn, as Umesh said, that is a little bit of a unlucky time. It's a dip in, it's like a 20% dip in your luck. So I'm not saying that, look, you're always going to lose when that happens, but it's more likely. Yeah.
So Simon here, if let's say right now, like in next few weeks, nodes going to be changing their sign. They're going to be going into Taurus and Scorpio, right?
Yes.
So let's say if Rahu is going into Taurus and if I've got my moon in Taurus, then then I should not invest in that time, or it's going through that degree.
No. The exact degree, within 1 degree. Now with the nodes, it's tricky because it depends. Do you use true node, mean node? I'll look at both. And when Rahu is within 1 degree of the moon in the mean node, pay attention to it. And then when it's 1 degree of true node, pay attention to it. Use both.
And
yeah.
And what about if that Rahu is also going to a yogi point? Is it lucky or unlucky?
It's lucky because, and what if Rahu is the yogi? It depends on a lot. What is Rahu a karaka for in your horoscope? Is he in your 8th house, aspected by Saturn and, Mars? Then Rahu is not a good planet for you. If he's the Ava yogi and he's, causing problems for you, the only way you know is look back to when you ran Rahu periods. What was happening in your life? Not dasha, even like a bhukti or even an antara, a sub period. what was happening when you ran Rahu. And that's the best way to know. Then you don't need an astrologer. Your chart is your astrologer because your history will tell you your future. That's the beautiful thing. My job as an astrologer is to make myself obsolete, to where you don't need me anymore. That you know your chart so well, you know your history well, so you can just look back. Oh, I'm running Saturn Mercury. Let me see what happened the last time I ran Mercury. Right? Okay. Then you know what to expect. Now, Rahu exalted in Taurus, James Kelleher has talked about this before as well. He feels that there will be, and this is on a different note, but you know, it's vicariously does affect what we're talking about, that there will be a vaccine that will come out or some kind of cure for the coronavirus, but that there will also be a reinfection, if you will, a mutation of the virus. Because Rahu is the virus, Rahu Ketu. And as Rahu goes exalted or debilitated, depending on how you view it, Ketu is definitely exalted. It indicates a change in their status. So the virus will undergo some kind of mutation. This is, James believed this, and I think he's onto something. And because of that, we'll have some type of therapy and cure will come because of Taurus, but also the virus will mutate. So this virus is not going away for another year, I think, according to James's assessment. And if that's the case, then the economy is going to look even worse. So, you know, I don't know how I got off on that, but the point of Rahu moving into Taurus, that was your question. So what is it good for? What is it bad for? It's going to make you think some crazy thoughts, but it could also make you very rich. You just have to look at last time it did that 18 years ago, what happened? See, the cycle we're in as a country, the United States, as a country, in the world, is the same cycle that happened 20 years ago, which the Jupiter-Saturn conjunction in Capricorn. And Ketu also, you know, there are a lot of similarities. Ketu was conjunct Mars and Pluto. There are a lot of similarities with 9/11, where an event happened that completely transformed the dialogue in this country. And again, I'm going to defer to James one last time. He says, this is a time of adharma. Adharma is when people make poor decisions. There's no buddhi. There's no light of intellect. And I'm sorry if I'm going to offend some of you here who believe in this stuff, but this is when all of the bullshit conspiracy theories come out. And because people are looking for, like, to blame, like this chart, it's the government's fault. You know, what did the government do? What did Bill Gates do? You know, oh, it's George Soros' fault, or it's this person's fault, right? We're looking because we can't take responsibility for our own shit, for our own karma. And so, especially when Jupiter, Saturn are conjunct, there's like a veil that comes. And remember, 20 years ago, this is when Bush and Colin Powell went in front of the world and said, Saddam Hussein has weapons of mass destruction. We have the information. It's bullshit. Conspiracy theory, right? People do not see things clearly when this happens, and we're in the middle of it right now. So there's all of this bullshit conspiracy, and I'm going to keep saying that word because that's what it is designed to darken our minds. And in 5-10 years, you're going to look back and go, oh shit, that was some crazy things that I was thinking of. But, you know, it'll be too late then. So
yeah, the latest bullshit theories, Kamala Harris was not born in the US.
Well, of course, Trump came up with that for Obama, you know, 5-10 years ago. They do anything because it sucks to have people. Anyway, I don't want to get into it because I'm not even on a side. I'm on the side of wisdom. Make good decisions based on buddhi, viveka, discrimination, the ability to see things as they are. Most of us do not. When it's dark outside, You always will mistake the rope for the snake. It's human nature. I'm walking down, I'm 6'4", 240, 50 pounds. I'm a big guy, but I grew up in a bad neighborhood. And when I walk the streets at night, a dark alley, and it's kind of dark, you hear a noise, all of a sudden my heart starts beating. I'm like, hey, what's going on? Right? And it's just a cat or something. But in your mind, you think there's a man with a knife ready to attack me. Right? So this is what's happening right now. It's dark out there. Jupiter-Saturn conjunction in Capricorn, darkness. And the slightest thing, oh, Oprah is eating babies, or you Bill Gates, and they're all conspiring against me. No, relax. It's not. I've seen Bill Gates' chart. There's too much nobility there. Okay? He's not eating babies. So anyway, I hate to go on a rant on this, but sometimes you have to stand up for truth. You have to stand up for, or at least what I believe is truth. Because look, the darkness affects me as well. So I could be totally wrong. I'm open to that. But hopefully those people who are espousing these theories are also open to being wrong. Okay? And all right, we'll put that to rest, hopefully. But yeah, I don't know why I went on this tangent. All right, questions, thoughts.
Simon, may I ask? I mean, just adding to this Jupiter Saturn. This is an astrological question because this is where James Callagher. I saw his world prediction, and he talks about his guru Shivananda, who's no more. In 2012 was he was saying that I'm worried about 2020 because there might be some world issue, and he talks about the Jupiter Saturn conjunction, and the Jupiter Saturn conjunction last happened in 1990 and 1961. But what is really different is, I think, this is again my novice astrology. This time on December 15th or December 13th, as someone, Jupiter is going to be at 5 degrees, and Saturn also is going to be at 5 degrees. So they are really close to each other. So is that going to be really something because the planets are too close to each other, because Jupiter is in his deliberation point at 5 degrees and Saturn in his own house at 5 degrees Capricorn? So is there something to that extra thing because it's so close to each other?
Well, that's
And I'd just like to add there is...
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
There's also an eclipse coming on 13th. I mean, at the same time that it's in a planetary war.
Wow.
Yeah, that's pretty much a full solar eclipse.
It's absolutely meaningful, and that's what a Jupiter-Saturn conjunction is. I mean, it's when they are exactly on the same degree. But it just so happens it'll be in Capricorn, in December. It just so happens that there will also be an eclipse, and the fact that it's also happening during this incredibly volatile time, I think this is what Mr. Shivananda Murthy was referring to, that 2020 will be a year of darkness, and that the people who are of less intellect will be seen as the wise ones, and the wise people will be seen as, oh, they're the experts, don't listen to them, they're whatever, they're the deep state, or they're Harvard professors, they don't know about real life. So we will discount people who have real expertise, and we will put up people. This is what it says, by the way, for Kali Yuga, that the people of less intellect will be put up as paragons of learning, and the people with real discernment will be taken down and driven away from the city. This is what the Shastra says about Kali Yuga, and in a sense, we're in a little mini Kali Yuga during the Jupiter-Saturn conjunction. And none of us are immune. I'm not immune from it. You're not immune from it. Best we can do is hopefully have community so that we can bounce these ideas off of each other. But yeah, Mr. Shivananda Murthy said that, so let's go forward to December here. December 3rd, it's I think December 20th.
We can't see your chart.
Oh, okay, my bad. Here. Here we go. December 17th. Well, there you go. December 18th, 19th. And it's Christmas, for Pete's sake. Here we go. December 20, 21st. And it's the winter solstice. Exactly, December 21st. Wow. This is a literal depiction of, or figurative, I should say, depiction of Jesus on the cross, which is a picture of the death before the rebirth. Because this is when winter officially begins, right? The winter solstice.
And it's also called Sarpa Yoga.
It's called Sarpa Yoga. There's an eclipse that happens several days before it, and then a week or so after it. Let's see, there's an eclipse here on the 14th.
And
Mm-hmm.
and for those people living in the Bay Area, so Simon, what the world prediction is that SF might have an earthquake. So, because Shivananda Murthy felt that SF might have an earthquake. So I'm planning to have earthquake insurance then.
Smart. Great point. Just buy insurance, guys. Wow. Thank you for sharing that. Anybody living on a fault line, buy insurance before December. That's not a bad recommendation. And the worst case scenario, nothing happens and you're out $1,000 or something. Worst case, right? Best case, you've protected your livelihood. Thank you for sharing that. What about for Phoenix, Arizona? I live in Phoenix. Drought? I don't think there's drought insurance, unfortunately. Drought insurance means just have some jugs of water in your garage. Oh, Lordy. Every place has its, good points and bad points. Can we cast a chart on Bay Area real estate? We can ask a question about it. Every city has a chart, San Francisco included. I don't know that I have San Francisco's chart. Let me see. But if you're asking about San Francisco's real estate, let me see if I have it. I do not. It would be helpful to fully answer that question. We need the chart for San Francisco, which is when the city was chartered, or when it became a city officially. And then we'll need to pull the chart for the question as well. Yeah. I have the chart for California. Let's see if in the California chart we see any untoward events in terms of earthquakes this year. September 9th, 1850. California is in a Mercury-Venus period. Venus is in Swati. Has it been unusually windy this year? I'm curious. Because Swati is very...
Yeah, 2-3 weeks back. Yeah, a month back, it was really windy. We had, due to the forest fires, the wind. So probably 3 weeks back, it was really windy in the night, yeah, for sure.
The thing is, in general...
Maybe that's why the fires spread so fast.
Yeah.
There's a lot of Swati Nakshatra. Swati Nakshatra's deity is Vayu. Now, California is ruled by this. So there's a strong sense of independence with this state, a sense of kind of like, hey, we don't even need the rest of America. We got everything we want here. Like, we are independent. That's the mantra for Swati Nakshatra, is independence. It also rules the arts. Saraswati is the goddess of music, acting, and so forth, so that makes sense. But Saraswati is also the river upon which the Indus Valley civilization was built. So it indicates the foundation for everything is not the arts, it's actually agriculture. And so Saraswati is the patron goddess of agriculture as well, meaning the know-how to raise good crops, vegetables, and so forth. And of course, I know this about California. Much of, the vegetables we eat come from there, the almonds and so forth. So it's in a Venus period. California is in a Venus period, but Venus is the lord of the 8th house. So it's a double it's a mixed thing. Venus will bring a lot of new creativity, art, beautification, you know, beautifying the state, new building, new projects. But because it's the eighth lord, it'll happen, there'll be an element of tragedy to it too. So I imagine the fires have something to do with that. But in terms of earthquakes, oof, this is going to be a little difficult. Yeah, Saturn is, look, earthquake, Saturn is going to conjunct California's natal Ketu. That's not going to be fun. But that's not till next
In the
year.
fourth house, aspecting the Lagna and the moon.
Guys, I'm going to go out on a limb and predict an earthquake here when Saturn touches Ketu, which is not till next year. But let's see. I think that'll be a dangerous time. We can get the general period when Saturn is close to Ketu, and then it'll be triggered by some Mars transit or Sun transit. So let's take a look, see when Saturn hits 21 degrees Capricorn. Let's look at this in the Prashna. I know we're going off, script here a little bit, but you brought it up.
What was the cusp of the fourth house for California?
The cusp of fourth house for California is, well, we don't know because this is assuming an accurate birth time. So I wouldn't rely on the cusp that much,
Right.
but it is 17 according to this chart, so very close to Ketu. And that's consistent with also, I mean, it's consistent with California's history. There have been dramatic earthquakes. The fourth house is the land. The cusp of the land is very close to Ketu, which rules, sudden, unpredictable upheaval. So, all right, so let's see when the Saturn is going to go to 17 through 20 degrees. And we're going to warn everybody in California beforehand, okay, hopefully. Let's see. Get my tool out here. All right, here we go. You guys ready for this? Saturn. I'm going to see Saturn at 24 degrees. Okay, now Saturn hits 17 degrees in April of next year. Okay, so there's Saturn, 18 degrees of Capricorn. Starting April, so I'm going to say April tentatively through, what was the degree? 21 degrees? Yeah, so actually he's not going to hit the degree. He's not going to hit 21. So April, May is the first possibility. Then Saturn's going to retrograde back. And then February 2022. Let's see, Pluto, Sun, Saturn, Sun. February 2022 looks a little bit ominous. I don't like it. Okay, so either March, April of next year or February of 2022. Looks like some possibilities for danger to California, particularly through earthquake. But look at this. Mars, Saturn will be opposed. This Mars-Saturn opposition I don't like. In July, actually. Look at this. Right at the 17 degrees, Nadia. So as you mentioned, Saturn will be retrograde, basically stationary, opposite Mars in June of next year. So this is definitely a difficult time, whether it's earthquake or fire or drought. These are both dry planets. There's going to be some environmental impact in California next June, late June, I think. So whatever that means for you guys, I'm not sure. Yes?
Yeah, I just shared the, James Keller San Francisco timing, which I got for 4:50, 1980. I mean, 1850, in the chat. So you could have that for your reference if you needed. Yeah. Anyway, I'm sorry to digress here.
Yeah, no, this is good. Yes. So let's take a look. If there was a question about it, I don't see it in the chat. Where is it?
It's, oh, sorry. I think I did it to just.
You got to press send. Oh.
Yeah. Just. I sent it to someone else by mistake. Yeah.
Here it is. Okay.
It's a charter. It's city charter. That's based on the world predictions. That's the one which James Keller uses.
Okay. April 15th, 1850. By the way, guys, there hasn't been a pee break, and you guys are doing amazing. You like these marathon sessions we have? I hope you're near a bathroom and you're okay. But if, with your permission, we'll keep going here because there's still a lot to cover. All right. April 15th. Let's go ahead and put that in. And Sandeepji, can you mute yourself if you don't mind in the meantime? Thank you.
Yeah, sure.
San Francisco, April 15th, 1850, 50, 00. Let me just make sure that information I put in is correct. Yes. All right. Well, hold on. Somebody's sync is going, so we're listening to the sync. I gotta mute you guys. Thank you. Okay. All right. So here's the chart. Ooh. Mula Nakshatra rising. So the question was about real estate prices. Does anyone have a link to James Kelleher's predictions? Yeah, go to his website, jameskelleher.com, for sure. He's got a lot of great stuff, great courses, great books. Buy all of his stuff. He's one of the astrologers I unhesitatingly recommend for whatever it is, whether you want to learn astrology or, just listen to a lecture. All right, so San Francisco is changing Dasha. This is huge. San Francisco is on the cusp of a major, you could say, regime change. By the way, I know nothing of what's San Francisco, what's happening there with the politics. I mean, I know it's kind of a liberal town, but I don't know much about it. So I'm telling you what I see in the chart here. So Jupiter, Rahu's in the 8th house. Ooh, in Ashlesha. So has there, this is a very outsider period. Has there been, well, I've heard that there's a problem with homelessness there, right? But has it been really exacerbated in the last 2 years, since 2019? Because 8th house is the things you don't want to deal with. It's, it rules the colon, the anus, the things that you want to hide from the world, the sex organs. It rules the private stuff that's in the basement, right? And so during Jupiter Rahu, there will be scandal because of that private stuff. Could be sanitation problems, Ashlesha, could be problems with
Also, the
water.
dispositors in the 6th house, right? So same.
Illness, problems with the water.
Digestion, illness.
Yeah.
Yeah, there have been a lot of drug-related cases as well. I mean, people who've been a lot of syringes found on the streets, and homelessness, of course, and sanitation problems. All these homeless were actually secreting on the streets.
Candles.
Yeah. So drugs for sure. Ashlesha is the nakshatra for drugs, both positive, so things like, I don't know, Lipitor and stuff, but also negative, like heroin and crack. That's Ashlesha is the nakshatra of pharmaceuticals. And with Rahu,
Poisoning.
Poisons, yes, because it's the serpent, the Naga Deva. So poisons that can heal or kill. And poisons, because it's in a water sign as well, could be in the water, or just there'll be scandal because of that. And like Nadia said very astutely, the Lord of the 8th is in the 6th in Kritika. Yeah, this is not an easy year for San Francisco. Now, in terms of real estate, it's a good question. We're moving into a Saturn period. Saturn is angular. See, Jupiter is the Lord of the 4th house of real estate, is very strong in in a friend's sign. So real estate should have boomed the last 16 years. Of course, I'm sure it's boomed everywhere. But in San Francisco, particularly, real estate in Purva Falguni, which has to do with luxury homes and real estate, expensive things.
And it's in the fourth house in the G9, which is great.
Yeah, so during Jupiter, if you bought, man, see, guys, this is where astrology is really cool. 2005, you know San Francisco is about to enter Jupiter. You save up your money and you buy a little 800 square foot apartment. I guarantee you by the end of Jupiter, it's worth probably 5-10 times that. Has housing increased since 2005? Quite, strongly. You guys
Yes.
know?
Yeah. In fact, 2005 was the peak, and then it went down in 2011. And in fact, I was lucky that I got into the market. I mean, this is the Bay Area I'm talking about, which is also this. 2011, it was the bottom. And then after that, there was no looking back, and it's gone really high. And even commercial real estate has gone high. But what has happened is now, because everybody's working from home, commercial real estate in San Francisco is going to take a hit. And that people don't want to stay in, because they're working from home. People from San Francisco are moving away. The renters are moving away. So that's why the real estate is going to get hit, at least in San Francisco City. So they're moving to the suburbs and all that. So that is, again, economy logic and also astrology put together, so that's what it is.
And of course, if in the middle of a bullish period there is a, worldwide recession, of course prices will suffer. But the general trend should have been positive. So yeah, thank you for sharing that. Now, let me ask you this though. 2008 and 2009, what were the prices like? Because that's the last time there was a Saturn period. So remember I just told you, look at your own chart, see, like when you asked the question about Rahu, see the last time you ran Rahu, what happened? So we're going to ask for San Francisco. Last time they ran Saturn was at the end of 2007.
That's when everything crashed. That was the recession.
Right.
Yeah, so end of 2007, September 15, 2007 was the October 14, Dow reached the highest. So even San Francisco reached the highest because, tech, everything was there. Then it went down in September 15, 2008 was the Lehman crisis. So that was when it went down. And it started picking up on, the stock market was March 9th. June, Jupiter, Mercury, here I see it started going up. No, actually it was 2009.
2009, yeah.
Yeah, 2009 March, yeah. So Jupiter, Saturn, it went down, but also it seemed to have picked up in March 2009. So I don't know, probably the Sabdasha, the Sub-Bhuktis might be having some issue with that.
Sure, yeah. And
that's pretty common too for Saturn delivers by the end.
Yeah.
Of the period.
So my point in looking back is to get a snapshot of what happened, because the way I see this here is Saturn is Lord of the third and the fourth will indicate a lot of people, there will be a lot of moving. The Lord of the third house, why? For financial reasons. Lord of the second house. Lord of the third and the fourth always indicates moves, changes of residence, buying and selling property. Now, Saturn is dignified here, though, and Saturn indicates the status quo. Being in the Revati Nakshatra, which is also a nakshatra of travel and movement, but it's also a nakshatra of hotels. It does suggest that, let me see. Saturn is, Yogi Point is in Leo. Interesting. Jupiter was on the Yogi Point. So yeah, this should have been a pretty good time for San Francisco. But
hospitality, nakshatra of hospitality.
Yeah, it is the nakshatra of hospitality. So I think the hospitality industry will suffer. So commercial real estate will suffer. I think there will be displacement. And Saturn is not as prominently well, he squares Mars in this chart. let's see, Saturn's in the third, giving the effect. I have to look at this a little closer because it does suggest that things, Saturn rules antiques, and that those things that have historical value will go up in value. But some things that don't have historical value will lose value in terms of commercial real estate, like an old hotel, for example, that has, antique value will become more valuable. So, but overall, I think the trend is going to be down in real estate prices. And if what we saw about earthquakes is right in first half of 2021 and then possibly February of 2022, then that could also affect it. Saturn in the fourth house is not great.
I think people will be moving out because of the third house lordship, because of the Revati being, ruling the roads and traveling, because Revati is ruled by Mercury, so Saturn's in the Mercury nakshatra, who is combust at 0 degrees in Nashvini, in the enemy sign. So not people moving out.
It reminds me of one of my favorite songs of all time by The Temptations called Ball of Confusion. And it begins, people moving out, people moving in. Why? Because of the color of their skin. Run, 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 but you sure can't hide. It's a beautiful song. An eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth. Vote for me and I'll set you free. This was written in the 70s, ladies and gentlemen. It's still so pertinent today. But yeah, so that is the period that we are in. We're in Jupiter Rahu, major change for also probably in political leaders. I know Nancy Pelosi's from there. Probably her tenure is going to come to an end pretty soon. But there's a change. Yeah, this is a big time of revolution. And when Saturn hits, I think, Nadia, I think you hit it on the head. Revati Nakshatra, Lord of the third house. These things all have to do with people traveling, moving. So I think there may be an exodus.
Also, the dispositor is in the 9th house retrograde. 9th house is what? Pilgrimages, traveling.
Exactly.
So there's like a bunch of things that are indicating people don't want to stay there anymore for some constriction of sort, because Saturn is constriction.
And the other thing is that what will that do to housing prices if people start moving out? It'll probably, there'll be less demand, so I guess prices would naturally come down. Wow.
Simon, is this happening? Are you saying about right now, or is this when Saturn?
Saturn starts officially next summer for San Francisco. Next summer. Okay. Interestingly, that's when Saturn will be right here opposite Mars here. So remember we looked next year, June, end of June, July, there'll be a Saturn-Mars opposition. I think next summer is going to...
Mars debilitated. Sorry,
that was in the...
delay.
Yeah, and Mars...
Debilitated in the 8th house, some accidents and stuff. So, what do you call it? The earthquakes is likely, something like that. Right?
And this
or
is
like
just based
tsunami or something, because Cancer, ocean.
Cancer is a water sign. Yep. Interesting. Next summer looks very interesting. There's some volatility here. We were talking about volatility in the markets, but there it is in the cities chart as well.
Sandeep, maybe it's time for you to sell your home and get yourself a dream home in your moon dasha.
Sandeep G is just buying insurance and he is hanging tough. Crypto is insurance in a sense, right? You don't have to open the safe and try to get your money out while the house is falling. You just get your little drive, or you got your phone with you and you're good to go. Get out. Okay, so that was an interesting look. Kelly, let's see. It looks like, what other questions do we have? All right. Other questions? We've got time for maybe one or two more. I know I haven't looked at the group where you guys had questions, and maybe this week it's maybe good to just kind of chill and not predict specific crypto ups and downs. I've told you my opinion on Bitcoin. I think in September, before September is done, we'll be back above 12K. So hang on, and I think it'll be sooner than later. But there is some sideways movement for a few days. So give it a week, and let's see what happens. But in terms of specific predictions, maybe we can hold on to those for now. But other thoughts, questions about anything, San Francisco, anything else?
I mean, just wanted to summarize. So basically, anytime after July next year is the change has already started, you said, but anything after July should be a possible time somebody wants to buy a place or something, right?
Yeah, it's touch and go because Saturn is it's not a 19-year long period. So when in Saturn are prices going to dip? Well, Saturn probably is going to be the beginning of the fall. Will it be the bottom? I don't know.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Saturn is a long period. So this isn't something that's going to happen over one summer, but for sure starting next summer, the lines will be drawn. And there will be, and also, you know what will happen? A more conservative government will come in. San Francisco, over the next 19 years, may actually become or relatively speaking, quite a bit more conservative. Just by virtue, look, Jupiter is a more liberal planet than Saturn. Jupiter isn't liberal, but it's humanitarian. Right? So in the name of humanitarian values and virtues, yes, we're going to let the homeless live on the street and poop on the streets because we don't want to kick them out. You get it? It's more like, it's very giving, like a guru. Guru doesn't care. Saturn is like, we have standards, right? Saturn here is very aristocratic. We have standards, so there are going to be laws, there are going to be restrictions, zoning restrictions, a lot more clamping down. I would say that a lot of zoning restrictions will also come into play. So a more conservative attitude towards the land and the city governance overall.
Getting your teeth kicked out, Revati.
Yeah, that's...
What's that about?
Well, the deity Pushan is got his teeth kicked out by Shiva, not just because Shiva is mean, but because Pushan tasted the offering to the gods before it was offered. He was so, greedy and hungry. And Shiva saw this and kicked. That's one of the stories. There are different stories. So now Pushan only can eat gruel, soups and shakes, milkshakes. So, and Justine is saying this is a good thing to bring structure to San Fran. The city needs it. Absolutely. I would say that Saturn's period will be a reaction to everything that's happening now, and it will bring stability. But getting your teeth kicked in, it may not feel right. It may be, may not feel good.
It would be a good time to be a dentist in San Francisco.
Yes, exactly.
You're too funny, Umesh. Cute.
Umesh has got to do a Jyotish stand-up.
Totally. I think it's like a disciplinary measure, kind of, because Shiva was disciplining him. So
Correct.
because of the disciplinary measures, the structure will be put in, which Saturn is really good at.
Well, and your ability to enjoy the things you enjoyed before will be limited. And so there will be limitations, restrictions on what's possible. So, but overall, should be fine. Should be fine if you know how to take advantage of it. Let's see, what else? Yeah. Very strong fifth house that San Francisco has. Ashwini. Yeah. And
I think people like dating there a lot, maybe,
well,
instead of
look at
getting
this.
married.
There's a Parivartana yoga between the
Yeah.
7th and the 5th house. So in a person's chart, this means there's a strong, yeah, a love of dating, a love of romance, a love of, you know, multiple marriages are often indicated because of this. So probably marriage laws in San Fran.
Playing around.
A lot of playing around, yeah, a lot of romance going on there. And a lot of Ashwini Nakshatra, Sun exalted there, Venus and Bharani. Yeah, a lot of sexy time going on. But yeah, I mean, we could go into San Fran a lot more. Mula, why was San Francisco founded, guys? Do you guys remember? What was the San Francisco's reason for being a city?
Gold?
That's right. The gold rush. And what is Mula? Digging underground. Mula Nakshatra. Digging underground to find the root, right? Or the gem, the mineral. So Mula is associated with things under the earth that are have value. Either the root as medicine, because why would you dig up a root? Because you turn it into something valuable like medicine or a gemstone. Isn't that interesting? The whole city's identity is Mula, which is digging underground.
Also
California's
called Silicon Valley, so it's silicon also, right? Like
right, Silicon Valley, right, and literally the name of a mineral, silica. And then California, what is it all about? Just the state in general. The nakshatra, so Saraswati nakshatra, creativity, the arts, agriculture, beauty, sometimes very often to a fault, right? Because we all know plastic surgery and all that. And the desire to be independent, the desire to change your life. Swati people are people who tend to leave their family and go in a very different direction from where their family is. Or at the very least, they believe different things. And so
It shows
people...
drastic change, like changing of technology. The technology changes really fast there.
Yeah. And even on the personal level, you get a waiter from Des Moines, moves to California and becomes a movie star. That's the story with so many stars. Brad Pitt was just, a country boy, went there and became independent. So many people. So you change your status. Swati Nakshatra. Beautiful. The Nakshatra, if you don't know about the Nakshatras, I have a course. It's $147. It's 20 classes. We give you the lowdown, the scoop on all the Nakshatras. I think it's worth it. And just by looking at any chart, you just look at the nakshatra on it, and it'll tell you something about that person or that city or that state, that thing, even a cryptocurrency.
Simon, also the Shakti of Swati to, spread and think of the Hollywood movies, like every part of the world watches these movies, the ideas that come from that valley,
Interesting. Yes. Spreading the seed. And also, originally it was to spread, the wind spread seeds. And again, back to farming. And I think Justine just said Silicon Valley was all about farming. Interesting. Yeah. The basis of art and culture is agriculture. Whoa, guys, a little cricket just bounced and landed on my keyboard on the computer. Out of nowhere. And he's hanging out there. What does that mean? He's a little cricket. And he's trying to climb on top of the screen now. He just came up, very friendly. Oops.
Crickets are good luck.
He just jumped on my leg and he's moving on. I love you, cricket. I love you, little guy. I love this little guy. He's just so brave. He came up, jumped on my computer, kind of looked up at me. He's like, what's up? And then he went on the screen, said, what you looking at here? This is boring. And he jumped off. Wow. Guys, what does that mean? Anybody?
Move to California.
I should move to California. Oh, my God. somebody said check Bitcoin. Maybe
Say
no.
something good about Bitcoin right now.
Well, what were we talking about? We were talking about spreading the seed of farming as the basis of all art and culture. So, yeah, I don't know. I was talking about my nakshatra course. Oh, okay.
Yes.
Okay. Yes, cricket. Miss Jiminy Cricket says you should all look into my nakshatra course. We did some good stuff there. That was the first of 3 courses we did this year, which was Parashara with decoding Parashara, and then Spring into Jyotisha, which if you weren't there, Spring into Jyotisha, I think, is my most kind of, I don't know, this course came out of nowhere, but we talk about planetary combinations and how if someone has Sun Venus together, for example, what it means. If someone has Rahu Saturn together. And guys, ever since that class, myself and I've talked to a few other students who took it, it's revolutionized the way I look at charts and the way the students look at charts. Because you can look at someone, I think Nadia, you saw someone with Sun Neptune, remember? And you told them, oh, you absolutely need to dance in your life and you hate being sober or not being in an altered state of consciousness.
Wake and bake combo, like Charlotte called it.
It's the wake and bake combo. And the guy just, like, you had him. You knew that about him. And it was just based
He
on
lost it. That was so great. He was laughing his ass off.
And when you say something that resonates so deeply with a person like that, and it's just based on one combo, Sun, Neptune, the tight Sun Neptune combination. The person is gonna they need to dance and move, so it's a combination for a dancer, and they need to have their the consciousness constantly expanded.
Yeah, he does ayahuasca, and I think it's a perfect combo for. I forgot what I was going to say. Never mind. It must be a reason.
So my point was that in this course we cover every possible planetary combination. I'm not turning this into a sales pitch, but this course, the Spring into Jyotisha, truly changed the way I do astrology. And even though I don't see clients anymore, just looking at a chart, you can get a snapshot into that person's deepest psychology. And this came about as a result of some research on my part and Nadia's part as well. And yeah, so anyway, there's the infomercial. we're going to do like
We
Teeka
also
Tiwari.
did the Dharma method course. Don't forget
We
about
did
that
the
one.
Dharma method. That's right. But I think out of all of those, even more than the Nakshatra course, I would say, the Spring into Jyotish is the one.
Yeah, that's a revolutionary kind of material that everybody should know.
It is revolutionary because I haven't seen it anywhere in any book, in any class. Some classes, yes, they have some elements of it, but we kind of put it together, and it's it was cool. Anyway, so we're doing like a Teeka Tiwari thing. Hey, Nadia, thanks for asking. Let me tell you about that course.
How dare you? Don't do that to me. That was completely not planned.
It was a cricket. It was a cricket. So the cricket spread the seeds, pollen. So he's the man. Yeah. Wow. This cricket just came out of nowhere. This is amazing. Maybe it's a sign that we should wind up the class, though. Let's see. It's been 2 hours, 40 minutes, 2.5 hours, rather. Let's do a couple more questions, and let's see where we go from there. Anyone with any other thought? Or not? Doesn't have to be questions. Comments.
I have a thing to say. I've been noticing a lot, like, since we are expecting market to go down, you might see a lot of like Bitcoin going to like 12,000 or maybe 13,000. Like before crashing it, the investor might like take it to the whole another level and then crash it back to 6,000 and 7K. So I was like, most of the bloggers nowadays, even if you search online, they're creating a content like a FOMO, fear of missing out. So I don't think so. Like, I would say not follow that part. Like, you're not missing out. If the economy is not gonna do well and the market is not gonna do well, you're not missing out anything. You're gonna get a good price if you're gonna hold on for a while and then buy it. Because my recommendation is to hold cash as much as you can, because that's a real gold, like during crisis.
Yeah, well, and that is what one major crypto investor has done. As I mentioned in the beginning, I forget his name. I saw the news story that he's out of crypto and the stock market. Look, it depends on what your strategy is. If you want to have cash on hand so you could take advantage of opportunities that come, like foreclosures or, whatever, then that's probably a good strategy. If you want to just hold on to the cash and not really do anything with it, well, then inflation is going to be up close to 4%. So you're actually losing money on that. Unless you look, if you want to hold cash, my recommendation is buy Tether or buy a stable coin, earn 12% interest on it, and then you could convert it to cash anytime you want. And it doesn't go up or down. Right? So Ujjwal, my recommendation, if you want to be out of the markets and just hold cash, just put it on one of these wallets where you're earning 12% interest on it, and be happy.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing. Yeah.
Oh, you are.
Cash means your stable coins, or
Stable
anything
coins.
that's not gonna crash. Yeah.
So where are you holding yours, if you don't mind sharing?
I think some have got in the a Nexo wallet,
Mm-hmm.
Atomic. So these are the wallets that I'm using right now.
Nexo and Potomac. And do they offer? See, I don't know about Potomac. Do they offer interest?
They do.
How much are you getting?
Okay, for some crypto, if you're doing for band, you're getting 17%, which is really high.
In which wallet?
Atomic wallet.
Potomac. Okay, Potomac.
Atom. ATOM.
Atomic. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Atomic wallet. I'm just gonna write this. Mm-hmm.
AW, Atomic wallet token. If you're gonna take that, it's 20% annually. It's really huge.
So up to 20% APR on band. Okay.
On band, it's 17, and AWC is 20%.
Oh, I see. And do you have to lock it up, or can you withdraw anytime?
I think you gotta lock it up for 1 year.
Oh, okay. Well, that's totally different. Yeah. Okay. Well, but yeah, some people want to do that. And there's some questions. Is it insured? Can the wallet be hacked? Yeah. So that this is where doing your own research and, but also, yeah, Ujjwal, what's your experience? Have there been issues with hacking or with?
No, I feel it's really safe. And I'm using Nexo. I feel that it's much better than even Celsius.
Yeah.
Because in your interest every day, not even weekly. And if you want to take a loan against your crypto, it's actually much more easier than Celsius as well. So I moved a lot of my money from Celsius to a Nexo account.
Okay. Yeah. And are the interest rates similar, better, competitive?
Yeah, it's almost equal. It's barely there is a difference. Like USD, if you go buy stable coin, it's 8% there. In Nexo, I don't know about Celsius. I think it's
higher. Yeah, it actually changes every week based on the markets, but it's usually not between 9.5% to 10% on the stables. Yeah, so Nexo wallet also is an option for everyone. I don't have skin in the game. Whatever is the best option, I'm willing to change. If Celsius stops being,
I think it's better to distribute multiple things. At least if
there
you
you
are
go.
lose it, you are not going to lose it.
Do that.
That's also very smart. Absolutely. Yeah.
And
So that is what I'm also using the Nexo, and then the one more is a block fee. That interest account, but that's it's going to be the 1 month, so it's going to give you a month end. And
Yeah.
it's the same as the first 5 bitcoins you'll give the 6% interest.
Yeah. Yeah. Celsius just changed on your first, 4 or 5 Bitcoin, you earn 6.5%. And then
Right.
every other after it's 4.5%.
All right. The same thing is the BlockFi, but only difference is Celsius. It will add you the interest every week. So BlockFi is every month.
Every month, but it's still the same
So,
interest. Yeah.
Yeah, similar kind of interest rates. And but one more thing is Celsius you can withdraw it immediately, but BlockFi you need a 24 hours, like so verification and all those, because that's for the safety wise, like so in case any hacks or anything.
I like Celsius because of Mashinsky. His mission to help people unbank themselves, like he started this whole thing, right? And everyone is sort of keeping up. I see Voyager is also.
No, I'm using Celsius for last 2 years, so I don't have any problems. So
I kind of identify with his mission, but I think you're right. Diversifying is the way to go.
Yeah, so that's what I did for almost 4 to 5 these things.
Cool. Well, guys, I think this is probably a good point to wind it up. Next week, I promise we'll look at some charts. We'll look at, hopefully we'll have a better idea of where everything is next week. I will look at our, Pigeonhole app and look at the questions. And I may even do them during the week. So if you have questions, put them up there. I'll look at them maybe during the week and, send out some emails on what I think. All right.
Yeah, so Simon, I just put on a video which has all the 5 different lending platforms, Nexus, BlockFi, what are the pluses and the minuses. So it's, people can get to see, and they have timestamps associated. So you can see Nexo, BlockFi, the 4-5, the top ones. So it's a good, interesting video. So people can see where to put the money. I put it on chat.
Okay, I will include the chat and the links. I have seen this video and let's see. No, I think you put the wrong link. I think you put Altcoin Daily link.
Ventures
and
Acuna Capital.
No, you're right. It is the right link. So this is Coin Bureau. This guy does good research. He has very good informational videos. So yes, I will include this. Thank you so much, everyone. This is very valuable information in the chat. I will include it in the email along with the class today. Any final thoughts before we call it a day today? Okay, so guys, thank you for your questions, and I'm amazed that you're still here, even after a couple hours. And let's all drink some hopium. And no, we don't need to drink hopium. We're gonna look at our charts and hope for the best and make good decisions. All right, guys, I will see you all next Friday, and you'll definitely hear from me before then. I'll send out an email today with everything we talked about, and we'll go from there.
Thank you, Simon.
All right.
Thanks, Simon. Thanks, everyone.
Namaste,
Have a great
everyone.
weekend.
Have a great weekend.
Namaste.
Bye-bye. Namaste.